What do you get when you take Avatar: The Last Airbender and drop into a world like Lord of the Rings, and then toss in Fire Emblem and World of Warcraft for added flavor? You get the Dragon Prince, and true to its many inspirations, this Netflix hit spins a web of complicated plotting and morally nuanced characters. I'm Keefe Nosy with Wicked Binge, and this is the Dragon Prince characters, good to evil. Spoilers ahead! Now, as always, we're going to be starting off with our purest and most heroic characters before working our way down. These characters are the good. There are many heroic figures shaping Xadia's destiny, but arguably no one does more with less than the boy king Ezran, holder of our gold medal of good. He's thrust into the world completely unprepared, first setting off on a journey with Callum and Rayla to return a dragon egg back to Xadia, and then back home to take the throne at the tender age of 9. Ezran has had to endure the heartbreak of losing his father, the treachery of Lord Viren, and the calls for war from the other human kingdoms, but through it all, he's stood his ground the best he can in the name of breaking the continent's endless cycle of vengeance.
I can do whatever I can to stop the war.
His words have moved the hearts of archdragons, and though he lacks any military or magical training, Ezran's close affinity for animals has taught him how to understand them. He can even control the dragon prince Ozymandias remotely through their bond, because apparently he's been the ranger of the party the whole time. Some close to him may worry that Ezran's too focused on his duty now to take time to be the child that he still is, but with Zim and his beloved Glowtoad Bait at his side, Ezran nevertheless brings a lighthearted but capable presence to the main team of heroes. Still, we're also giving him the Gluttony Medal for his excessive love of jelly tarts and other pastries. Promoting your personal baker to a royal council position is some weird political optics, kid. While we're handing out medals in Catolis, their general Amaya takes our silver medal of good. Amaya's a ferociously protective aunt to Callum and Ezran, and a tough but fair commander and friend. She's initially prejudiced against elves, like most humans, but she overcomes that fairly quickly when she's given the choice to save the Sunfire elf Janai from certain death. This act of mercy toward a defeated enemy lands Amaya in hostile territory, but she soon finds herself in the midst of an elven existential crisis after their capital's taken over by dark corruption, and her new friend Janai is forced to become queen. Since then, Amaya has become a defender of human and elf alike, both on the battlefield and in the court of law, helping to broker peace between the two sides as they face an uncertain future together. Though she really steps up her game in Season 5, saving Corvus and the Drag Gang from corrupted Banthers and rescuing her fiancé from a bloodthirsty assassin hired by Janai's disgruntled brother, Amaya's going to earn her eventual wedding even if she has to fight off every villain in Xadia to do it. Amaya and Janai didn't luck out with their assassin encounter the way Callum and Ezran did, but while Rayla might be terrible at her job, her inability to kill anyone helps her earn the Bronze Medal of Good. Of course, not killing people is a pretty low bar to set for goodness, so it says much more that this Moonshadow elf is one of the first of her kind to set aside age-old hatreds and join a pair of humans on their quest to return the Dragon Prince to his mother. Rayla's been a valuable asset to the Drag Gang with her rogue's toolkit of stealth and swordplay, but she's also been a reliable friend who's risked life and limb, in one case literally, time and time again to the cause. She can sometimes struggle with trusting her companions, withholding important information from Callum, even after they begin a romantic relationship, but she seems to slowly be getting better at that.
It slipped just out my reach. What will we do now?
When we last leave her, Rayla's in a pretty solid position, having shared with Callum her secondary goal of freeing her parents, and also conquering her crippling fear of water to save the day once again. She deserves all the high fours for that one. Her on and off boyfriend Callum isn't far behind in the ranking. This aspiring mage starts off at a huge disadvantage. He's human, and so wasn't born connected to the primal sources of magic, but he also quickly develops a distaste for the corruptive allure of dark magic.
I'm a mage!
Callum's growing knowledge of the primal sources is a great help to the Drag Gang during his adventures, although his craving for discovery leaves him susceptible to the schemes of the wily Aaravos, who's well known for preying on the ambition of mages. Callum has also resorted to the use of dark magic twice now, and while he faces dire circumstances both times, the experiences really take their toll on him. If Catolis' high mage is any less heroic than the rest of the core Drag Gang, it's only because the constant temptation of dark magic is liable to cause him problems in the future. Callum may be an expert at turning magical lemons into lemonade, but we'd be willing to bet that eventually there will come a time when he'll have another taste of the dark side and won't come out of it entirely unscathed. The corrupting power of darkness is an evil that Janai knows all too well. As a commander of the Sunfire Elves, we first encounter Janai as a powerful opposition to the human forces guarding the breach. However, after Viren and Aaravos pollute the elves' source of power and kill their queen, Janai's forced to focus on dangers closer to home. She has to chart a new course for her people, now living and working alongside humans and without the power power of their sun forge or their capital of Lux Aria. It doesn't help that Janai's brother Karim is determined to return the elves to the old ways, as even after his banishment, he's still disrupting the elves' fragile peace and getting in the way of Janai and Amaya's happiness. We do expect to see more of the Elf Queen and her vision for a brighter future as the Sunfire storyline continues to unfold in the last 2 seasons. Much like the elves, the dragons of Xadia now have to deal with the prospect of a changing world. Zubeia, the Dragon Queen, is thus far the only one of these powerful creatures to have gotten enough screen time and development to show up in this ranking. She makes a strong showing too, rewarding Callum and Ezran for reuniting her with her son by making diplomatic overtures to the kingdom of Catullus. She's as understanding about the work that will be necessary to heal the rift dividing the continent as she is knowledgeable about the dangers the world still faces. Zubeia serves as the Dragang's personal Uber, carrying them around Xadia to meet with the other archdragons, and she comes to their rescue when they're trapped in the great bookery of Lux Aria. It's here that Zubeia is attacked by corrupted beasts and begins to succumb to the darkness herself, but she keeps a hold of herself long enough to find help from an unexpected source. It's not clear what the Queen thought of the late Dragon King's love of attacking humans on the border, but there's no doubt that in the time since his passing, she's made efforts to extend a claw in friendship toward her mate's old enemies. Zubeia is just one of several temporary members of the Dragang. She might be the most appropriate, considering the name, but Captain Vilas, with a silent D, can just about match her impressive contributions.
The name's Captain Vilas. The D is silent.
The Salty Sea Captain may have lost both his eyes and eventually loses his ship, the Ruthless, but that's not going to prevent him from getting the Dragang to where they need to go. With the help of his incredibly well-trained parrot Berto, Vilas can navigate through the stormiest of waters, whether literal or figurative. Both Rayla and Callum find themselves looking to Vilas for advice on their internal conflicts, and when the group is beset by pirates, he's right there offering up his own hand to spare the others. Hooks are in fashion these days, you know. We're looking forward to whatever crazy adventures the captain has in store for him now that he's taken command of an impressive new ship. He's not the only one we can expect to run into again. Lujane is the guardian of the Moon Nexus, whose counsel gives the heroes the information they need to hatch the Dragon Prince's egg, and who provides Callum with his first proper lesson on the nature of magic. Her pet phoenix, Fifi, also helps ferry the characters where they need to go, even sacrificing its life on its last flight so that Ezran can reach Xadia. Despite all of this, as an illusionist, Lujane can sometimes be kind of a troll.
It looks like you could use some cake.
Her relationship advice is as unsound as you'd expect from someone who's gone through at least 4 husbands, and she's been known to offer people lavish spreads of food that are actually live grubs. In recent seasons, she's been wandering around the human kingdoms in disguise, so it's likely that she'll show up again with even more illusory antics in store. She might even end up with another husband, who knows? If anyone knows her way through Lujane's antics, it's Ellis. This brave young girl once made her way alone up the cursed caldera in search of aid for her injured pup Ava. She withstood all the horrifying sights Lujane had crafted to deter interlopers and was rewarded with an illusion that allowed Ava to grow up strong and accepted by Ellis's family. In the present, Ellis and Ava escort the Dragang up the caldera so that they too can benefit from the mysterious healer living there. Lujane may not exactly be a healer, but everything works out well for them in the end. Much like Ezran, Ellis displays an abundance of courage and skill for her age, guiding the heroes through the monsters of the caldera and later helping them escape from the very real threats of the treacherous Soren and Claudia. Ellis and Ava are exactly the sorts of characters you expect to see make their return for the grand finale, so we'll be waiting. The same could be said for the young Earthblood elf, Nathan. The heroes encounter him in the Drakewood Deep in the uncharted forest, where he's at first too timid to tame a dragon like the other elves. Nathan's meeting with the Dragang gives him a fresh perspective on dragonkind, and he rewards them by leading them through the many dangers of the back passage of Rex Igneus's lair. It's not clear what becomes of Nathan after the group leaves Umber Tor, but as with Ellis, we have a feeling he'll be back. Season 4 leaves us with one Earthblood elf who does stick around, but he's instead a member of Team Viren. Terry becomes Claudia's boyfriend during the 2-year time skip before the Mystery of Aaravos seasons. While he's undeniably great boyfriend material, keeping the mood lighthearted and helping Claudia rest when she's pushing herself too hard, the issue is the company that Terry's found himself in.
I just gave it a bit of extra grow magic.
As Claudia becomes ever more desperate to save her father, she slips further and further down the path of darkness and threatens to drag Terry down with her. He murders Ibis to stop the Skywing Elf from killing Claudia, although the experience shakes him to his core. He's also had to use his Earthblood powers to restrain and conceal Team Viren's enemies, including a now heroic Soren and a patrolling dragon. On the other hand, though, Terry narrowly avoids the gray category because he's likewise had a positive impact on Claudia's fraying sense of morality. He calls her out when she taunts Rayla with the possibility possibility of being reunited with her parents, and Claudia's so upset that she actually returns to give Rayla the cursed coins. But who knows where Terry would end up in this ranking by the end of the series. At least he'll always have his goofy goo. Next up, we have the characters who tend to fall somewhere between good and evil. Welcome to the gray area. We're kicking things off with the Dragon Prince's clearest redemption arc thus far. At the beginning of the show, Soren is the muscle of Team Viren, the slow-witted brawn to his sister Claudia's brains. Although he's uneasy with Viren's command to kill the princess from the start, that doesn't stop him from attempting to stage Ezrin's accidental death or ambush him and his brother after claiming to still be on their side.
We should stuff them in sacks!
It takes a foolhardy attack on a dragon that leaves him temporarily paralyzed for Soren to begin to reconsider his allegiances, and he ultimately leaves his father and sister to join up with the good guys shortly before the battle at the Stormspire. Soren's still not the sharpest tool in the shed, and his comedy stylings are as questionable as his hygiene, but he's become a valuable addition to the team. Not even running into Claudia again can sway him from the side of good. Soren might not be appetizing enough for a Leviathan's taste, but the drag gang sure likes having him around, so that's nice. It also goes without saying that Soren nets himself the Darwin Award. Luckily for him, he's lovable dumb muscle. That's more than can typically be said for Nyx. This cunning Skywing elf intercepts a message intended for the Dragon Queen, and she uses this inside trade knowledge to dupe Callum and Rayla into traveling with her through the unforgiving sands of the Midnight Desert. She captures Zim and leaves the couple stranded at an oasis in the middle of the desert. While Callum and Rayla catch up to Nyx and then save her from a nest of deadly soul-fang serpents, it's clear that they only help her out of the goodness of their hearts. Nyx does show up again unexpectedly in Season 5, having won Captain Vilas' ship from him in a game of chance, and claims to be its new captain. She bails on the drag gang when Finnegrin's pirates take them captive, but slips back in once the danger is past with a smile and a cheeky excuse for her absence. Nyx is without a doubt the flightiest of the hero's allies, in more ways than one. When someone like Nyx does good, it's mostly by accident, but Runan's goodness only works from a certain point of view. He's introduced as the show's first antagonist, out to assassinate King Harrow in retaliation for the humans' slaying of the Dragon King.
We strike when the moon is highest.
As one of Rayla's adoptive fathers, he's also trained the young elf in the blade, and filled her head with all the usual elven prejudice against humans. Runan is convinced he's done the right thing when he's apparently the one to kill Harrow. Regardless of his motives though, once Viren gets a hold of him, his fate is one we wouldn't wish on our worst enemies. It remains to be seen if Rayla will succeed in rescuing Runan from his magical prison, and if the experience will have given Runan any chance to reflect on his behavior. If Runan gives us our first taste of elven attitudes toward humans, it's King Harrow showing us the reverse. During his brief time alive on screen early in Season 1, the King of Catolis has grown conflicted about perpetuating the endless war between humans and elves, but flashbacks to his life in later seasons paint a much grayer picture. Although he's committed to being a just and fair ruler for his people, Harrow has fewer qualms about slaying a magical creature as a shortcut for his problems. This short-sightedness indirectly results in his wife's death, and Harrow's fury over losing Sarai is what drives him to kill the Dragon King Avizandum and allow Viren to make off with the dragon's egg.
But I do know I will pay the price for the choices I made.
Harrow's eventual rejection of Viren's creative solutions is what keeps him out of the evil category, but there's no getting around that Harrow's actions kick off the conflict at the heart of the Dragon Prince and greatly endanger the lives of his sons. No wonder Ezrin doesn't want to be the kind of king his father was. In fact, we're awarding Harrow the Wrath Medal for carrying a hatred so strong that it could be used as an ingredient in one of the show's most lethal spells. We've finally arrived at the most wicked baddies around. These characters are the evil. If we were putting this list together after Season 3 or even 4, Claudia would find herself in the gray section. She's a skilled dark mage who often resorts to unsavory practices to power her spells, but while Viren sets her on a quest to capture the princes, she's not doing so out of malice. She just wants to please her father and keep her family together, even as Viren increasingly falls off the deep end of his obsession with power and control. Come the second story arc, however, and Claudia's been upgraded to major antagonist status. We still don't know what horrible things she had to do to put together the spell that resurrects Viren, and her attacks on the heroes become more frequent and more violent than ever before. She sacrifices more and more of her mind and body, not to mention her already shaky moral compass, in a desperate bid to keep her father alive.
Don't die, Dad! You can't die again!
We just know that Claudia is not going to allow Viren to lie down and accept his fate, not after all she's gone through. For that, we're giving her the Greed Medal, to represent both her craving to one-up the magical beings of Zadia with her dark powers, and her desire to not see her family split up, by force if necessary. If there's anyone on this show who could seriously use a therapist, it's Claudia. Much like his daughter, Lord Viren's placement has shifted over the seasons. Over the course of the first arc, he becomes a villain through and through, doing whatever he believes is necessary to acquire power for himself and strike out at those holding humanity back from greater progress. He's sent assassins to terrorize other kingdoms, unjustly imprisoned his enemies by both mundane and magical means, orchestrated a coup against Ezrin, and corrupted Lux Aria, leaving untold numbers of elves dead or homeless. And that's only the half of it.
I am
Viren's got some serious blood on his hands, and he pays the price for it with his life. Thanks to his daughter, Viren is still alive and kicking in the second story arc, but being forcibly confronted with his own mortality has left him changed. He's still not a good guy by any means, but the Viren of seasons 4 and 5 struggles with dark magic and the far-reaching consequences of his actions in ways that he never would have prior to his death. Time will tell if he can ever manage to redeem himself or stop Claudia from following in his footsteps to her doom. Viren still nets himself the Pride Medal for believing that he can amass enough power to shape the destiny of Xadia to his liking. The guy's got some major ends justify the means supervillain vibes going on. But Viren doesn't commit most of his evil acts alone. We are tentatively awarding his conspirator Aaravos the Bronze Medal of Evil. There's still a lot we don't know about the enigmatic Startouch elf, but he's been pushing Viren to greater and greater heights of villainy since season 2 and is now indirectly working his malevolent manipulations on Claudia. We learn via exposition dumps that Aaravos had been responsible for many wars and conflicts in the distant past, and that he attempted to carry out a conspiracy against the dragons of Xadia that saw him locked in a hidden magical prison. Now called the Falling Star, the possibility of Aaravos' return strikes fear into the hearts of elf and dragon alike. Again, because we still know so little about Aaravos' goals and motivations, it's tough to rank him any higher at this time, but there's no denying that he's the driving force behind much of the strife our heroes have to endure. Aaravos continues to be one big mystery, so for our top 2 slots, we had to look at villains whose motives are as thoroughly rotten as their actions. The Silver Medal of Evil thus goes to Karim, who wants nothing more than to return the Sunfire Elves to their old way of life, far away from humans. To that end, he publicly challenges his sister, the Queen, and then puts a hit on her with the deadly Blood Moon Huntress Kim Dale. The collateral damage from the assassination attempt already leaves Karim with quite the body count, but the end of season 5 teases his ascension to major antagonist status. Thanks to his lover Miana, he's acquired the stolen source of the elves' power and an army of loyalists. And now he's out to win the vengeful dragon Sol Regem over to his side. There's even the possibility that Aaravos is somehow involved, with his presence lingering in the body of one of Karim's followers. The Sunfire plot has been on a slow burn for several seasons now, but it's looking like Janai's gonna have a major fight on her hands soon enough. But it's cold cruelty that wins out over scorching heat in this villain ranking, because Finnegrin, the Tidebound elf, takes our gold medal of evil. When the Drag Gang first encounter the self-proclaimed Lord of Scumport, Finnegrin seems like he might be your usual surly pirate type. Rough on the outside, but with a good heart deep down. No! This guy's bad news through and through, whether he's using adorable baby glow toads as Leviathan bait or forcing his crew to serve him through literal cold-blooded torture. It's agonizing watching him perform the same trick on Rayla. He also goads Callum into using dark magic in the hopes that he'll find out a spell that can kill archdragons. Finnegrin's ultimate goal is total dominion over the seas, and he'll destroy anyone or anything that gets in his way. It's extremely satisfying to see his golem underling finally get fed up with Finnegrin's horrible treatment and toss the elf into the jaws of a waiting Leviathan. It'll be hard for him to rule the seas when he's stuck being fish food. Oh well.